Comic creators, your new crowdfunding launch sidekick is here. The Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner from ComixLaunch is your ultimate step-by-step companion to planning, optimizing, and executing your crowdfunding campaign, helping hardworking creators stay organized, execute with confidence, and maximize success on every launch.
Hey, I'm Tyler James, publisher of Comics Tribe and host of the ComixLaunch podcast,
which has been helping comic creators launch successful crowdfunding campaigns for nearly a decade. In that time, I've seen the same struggles come up again and again. Making a great comic, but no idea where to start with crowdfunding it, overwhelm at all the steps to launch and fear of missing something important, exhaustion during the campaign, and struggling with the emotional roller coaster of launching.
and finishing the campaign and still being unsure what worked, what didn't, and how to get better results the next time. If any of those challenges sound familiar,
you are not alone, and it's not your fault. Crowdfunding a comic requires a completely different skill set than making one. The good news is I have something that can help. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of ComixLaunch, I've distilled years of my own crowdfunding experience and the insights of hundreds of amazing guests I've had on the show into one essential tool. This new comic book crowdfunding planner is really 4 powerful books in one, designed to help during every phase of your launch. First, it's a launch planner, providing a step-by-step roadmap including guided templates and battle-tested ComixLaunch exercises to build a winning campaign. Second, it's an execution checklist, including action items and pro tips for every aspect of your project so you can launch with confidence. Third, it's a daily campaign journal with dedicated pages to track your campaign progress each day of your launch, prioritize your daily promotional activities, and stay in command of your project. And fourth, it's a post-launch debrief with a proven post-mortem process to capture what worked, what didn't, and what you'll improve on so that your next launch is even better. The Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner is perfect for first-time Kickstarter creators who want a clear roadmap from start to funded.
When it comes to running a Kickstarter, I never thought I could do it until I started using Tyler's tools and tips and tricks.
I have raised over $40,000 US. Everything I have launched has been done using the ComixLaunch tools. It's been the backbone of my success as a creator.
Experienced crowdfunders who want to refine and optimize their launch processes and get to that next level of funding success.
I've raised over $30,000 on Kickstarter. I wouldn't have been able to accomplish this without ComixLaunch. Tyler's guides have made it an effortless and stress-free process.
Tailor-made specifically for comic book creators, writers, artists, and publishers looking to streamline their campaigns and optimize their crowdfunding efforts.
The ability to break down the daunting task of running a Kickstarter into small, well-defined, achievable tasks gave me the confidence to finally launch a campaign.
I really needed an instruction manual, and that is exactly what Tyler gave me.
Perfect for anyone who has struggled with crowdfunding overwhelm and could use a physical tool to help focus before, during, and after your launch.
The timing of finding Tyler and his work was perfect for me because I didn't know what I was doing.
What helped me was getting access to all of the tools that Tyler puts together.
6 campaigns raised about almost $27,000, and I can honestly say I wouldn't have had anywhere near the success without ComixLaunch.
The tools included in Tyler James' planner were essential to getting the ball rolling for me.
Everything I know about running Kickstarters I learned from ComixLaunch.
Finally, it's for all the thousands of ComixLaunch listeners who have been asking for a resource like this for nearly a decade. For rewards, the new planner is available in a number of formats. A beautiful physical planner with a durable faux leather cover, digital PDF version with ready-to-print pages, and discounted multi-pack bundles for creators and publishers with many project launches on the horizon. All backers will be thanked by name on the ComixLaunch podcast, and there's limited show sponsorship opportunities available. I'm also opening my schedule for a few one-on-one crowdfunding coaching and mentorship opportunities, and you can also get access to some of the ComixLaunch Pro courses during this campaign.
Let's make your next launch the best one ever.
Back the Comic Book Crowdfunding Planner today, and I can't wait to see what you launch next.
Prepare to launch in 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Welcome to this ComixLaunch live stream. Tyler James is here with you. I am excited to have a great conversation. I've got a wonderful assortment of guests hanging with me backstage. We'll be bringing them on in just a bit. But as we've been doing for these live streams, I want to give a quick update on the ComixLaunch comic book crowdfunding planner. Had a great weekend for the planner, and just wanted to, celebrate that. I'm going to thank some more backers by name. I'm going to give you a daily Kickstarter launch lesson for comic book creator crowdfunders, and then we're going to shift into the conversation where you're going to hear some great and hear from some great creators that have projects that are live or soon to be live. We've got Laurie Foster, Zak Mudie, Jaden Molina, and Mr. Fish in the backstage. And if there are questions live, if there's something you want to hear from myself or any of these creators, this is your opportunity when you tune in to get in on that. So let's thank some backers for the comic book crowdfunding planner. I'm working my way through the backer list. We just went over 400 in terms of support, so I still have a ways to go, but I want to shout out Mark Landry, Cody, Jared Winsborough, Brandon Davis, Ralph Contreras, Christian Zaffo, L. Jamal Walton, Jaron Mitchell, Fearless Leader, great name, Heroic Mass Productions, another great name, Joe Casimir, Scott Mitchell Rosenberg from Platinum Studios, Jeff Jackman, Hasm Productions, Brett Monroe, Colin Devonshire, John Ward, Meme Sync, Patrick McNeary, Irv Henderson, Mark Rouleau, Nathan Sanders, Christopher Vincent, Robert Dyer, John Lamond, the folks over at Diesel's Distillery. That's a hard word to pronounce without any vowels in there, but Distillery, they're doing really cool work. Michael Cicchetti, Elvin Mendez, Sean McBee, and Ron Kirkley. It's really awesome just to see the backer count pile up, and to know that many of these creators will ultimately go on and launch some really cool stuff on the Kickstarter platform or on any crowdfunding platform for that matter. Again, we'll be bringing on my guests in just a bit. And we'll be talking about their crowdfunding projects. But I did just want to shout out, we're now over the 400 backer mark, and we're like one planner away from getting over hitting the $15,000 mark or thereabouts. So if you are looking to get organized and are looking to take some of the best tips, strategies, tactics, and planning docs that I still use to this day, I've been launching since 2012, nearly 40 launches under my belt, but there are these processes and these checklists and these strategies that I use for each and every launch, and things that I always want to remember to do and force myself to do because the campaigns are better for it. And so I've tried to pack the best of that into a book that can sort of be your launch companion for each and every launch. And so I appreciate those that have checked it out, and happy to welcome more as we have 11 days left for this planner launch. All right, let's do a tip of the day. Okay, your ComixLaunch tip of the day for comic book creator crowdfunders is to use the 60 characters in your project title wisely. Every Kickstarter campaign has certain constraints, and one of those constraints is you are limited to 60 characters for your project title. But there's a lot of creators that don't use all 60, or they just go with the name of their comic book series, and just that's the project title. And from my perspective, that is not taking full advantage of the Kickstarter platform. Your character, rather than you're using your project title simply as the title of your series, understand that your project title reads as a headline for your entire campaign. It's the thing that shows up in searches on the Kickstarter homepage, in email notifications, when people share your project. you got 60 characters. And so I really strongly encourage creators to use them and use them wisely. A few reasons for this is that first, your title is the single most read piece of copy on your page. We talked in some of my other tips about the importance of making a great first impression and how your first impression matters. Well, the actual very first impression that you get to make when you launch a Kickstarter project is your project title. It's the thing that people see. Sometimes it's the only thing that people see before they make that decision whether or not they're going to click on it or they're going to scroll past it. The second reason why using the 60 characters that Kickstarter gives you is a really good idea is that Kickstarter is a search engine. And so including key terms, we're talking genre, format, vibe in your title, along with what the name of your series is and what it's called, what your book is called. By including that, you will rank better and you will perform better as Kickstarter is a search engine. And then third thing is that often for the work that we do as comic book creators, our title may not be enough to clarify exactly what the project is. Now, there are some creators that are really good at creating titles that say exactly what the book itself is. And others, your title is a little bit more or a little bit not so on brand, or doesn't exactly say what the thing is, and so you need a little bit more. And so, for example, if you had a project title that was called like Dark Covenant number 1, right? All right, well, sounds mysterious, but by adding a few keywords, Dark Covenant, a supernatural cyberpunk horror series, or something like that, that would give you more opportunities to show up in more searches on the Kickstarter platform, and it would give the reader a much better idea about what it is that he or she would be clicking on. My pal John Lee has just announced a new title for a book that he's doing with Mad Cave called Orla, and cool title, unique. It'll rank well, but it doesn't say what it is. And so with a short title like that, you would want to pair it with a, rom-com murder horror title that he's actually doing. Including those keywords will be very important on a project like Kickstarter or a platform like Kickstarter in order to get that and to make it rank well. And so a formula that I've used successfully over the years and that works for me, I call it the comic book Kickstarter project title formula for success. And it looks a little bit like this. It is book name, unique selling point plus value proposition. Now, sometimes you're not going to be able to include all of that, especially if the book title itself is very long. You might just be able to get in one unique selling point. You might be able to just get in something unique about the value proposition that you are providing there. But where possible, these are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. With many things, it will help to see examples. So some examples for this include some books that I've done would be Happy. So there's Comics Tribe books. Happy Hill #1, supernatural horror vacation thriller. Okay, so and there's a title where supernatural horror, pretty common, right? And but adding that vacation element hopefully would make it stand out just a little bit. So that's a great book that Joe Mulvey wrote and drew with the help of Rich Duick and another great team of supporting cast of creators. So that's an example there. Another Comics Tribe book, Sync #1 through 13, Monsters, Deluxe Edition, vampire crime horror. So I'm trying to call out Deluxe Edition that this is, not the book that's going to be in stores. And then vampire crime horror. Again, crime horror is a, crime horror is a genre, and vampire crime horror will hopefully help it stand out a little bit more. So another example, not done by me, Smut Peddler 2014. Lady Porn Conquers Earth, okay? Says what it is. Womanthology, massive all-female comic anthology. Womanthology is a great title, but really don't they use up more of their characters and say what it is. Scurry book 1, Doomed Colony, a post-apocalyptic mouse tale. So all really good examples of this, and would rank very well on the Kickstarter as far as keywords. Now, the Comics Launch Planner does include some tools to help make sure that your copy is on point. I have the Comic Product Sell Sheet, which asks a lot of prompts and questions to help you flesh out your pitch so that you're identifying the keywords, the pitches, the hooks that are going to work well, and you can use that along with things in our page design checklist to make sure that your title hits and that you craft a strong title. So in conclusion here, a well-crafted Kickstarter title can pull more eyes to your campaign, improve conversions, and help your comic stand out in a crowded field, as you will find when you launch your project on Kickstarter. Okay. In a sec, I'm going to bring on my guests, and we're going to kick off a great conversation. But I want to just to make sure that y'all know that you are invited to join me for one of these live streams. I'm filling up my dance card all month long. I'll be hanging out and doing these streams, usually 12 to 1:30. So come on and join me, ComixLaunch.com/invite. There are still spots open, and I'd be excited to talk to you about what it is that you are launching. And with that, it's time to bring on the crew that I have assembled here. So I want to start by doing some introductions. And so here's who I have in the chat. First and foremost, I have, Zak Mudie. Zak and his partner, Jaden Molina, are working on a project called Citadel, Pulsar, The Last Ethereal. And this is a team that met on the Comic Book Collabs subreddit, which I've heard great things about. And I know many successful creator mashup has met over there. But welcome to Comics Launch, Zak. Excited to have you here. Also here we have Laurie Foster. Laurie is a returning champion to the Comics Launch podcast. She's been on a bunch, and always fun to talk to her. If you don't know Laurie, she's the founder of Laguna Studios, which is a woman-owned company and publisher of top-tier independent comics and other books. And we also have, for the first time in Comics Launch, we have Mr. Fish in the house. The fastest working man in indie comics, has illustrated 115 books over the last 6 years and has helped his clients raise over $200,000 for their projects and published 16 of his own. And his latest is called Alice Lost in Wonderland, and it's live on Kickstarter now. And we'll take a look at these projects in just a bit. But how's everybody doing today?
Doing great.
Yeah, it's always fun to assemble a unique panel for discussions like this. And I guess one of the things that I'd love to start is just to give each of you the opportunity to talk a little bit more about the project that you have live on Kickstarter right now. And since we are all gentlemen here, we're going to start with Laurie and let her kick us off. And tell us about The Surgeon, Laurie. What's going on over there? And I know this is a project that Laguna Studios and you have been working on for a while and means a lot to you. But tell folks what you got cooking on Kickstarter.
Yeah, so this is like the culmination of years of work. We finally collected all 6 issues of The Surgeon in a volume. The Surgeon is post-apocalyptic samurai western. It's 15 years after the apocalypse. Dr. Jenny Hanover struggles to survive, and she has to balance her calling as a doctor with the necessity of killing to survive. So she starts, getting pretty good at killing out of this necessity, and then maybe starts to like it. We're not sure. So we've got all 6 issues in this volume. We got a brand new wraparound cover by Megan Hedrick. We have a brand new shirt designed by Reggie Lambo. Just a whole bunch of stuff on this campaign, metal bookmarks. And we're still just shy of goals, so I'm hoping we hit it because I have some really cool stretch goals planned. But it's almost 200 pages. This thing is huge. I put the entirety of issue 1 on the Kickstarter, so you can just click the link and read it if you're doubting me. It's friggin' great.
Well, yeah, it looks phenomenal. And so as you came around to putting this together into the hardcover collection, or the collection here, is it a hardcover? Let me see.
It's a softcover.
It's a softcover. Okay, softcover collection with a sweet wraparound cover. Like, so much work goes into projects like this. Were there anything in particular that jumped out at you? Is like, oh man, as I'm going and putting together this and getting this out in here, like, it's just something that you want to highlight about the process of making this book, lessons learned, etc.?
Oh, wow. Well, it was quite kind of an experience going through and making it. It was just, we started off and Zach Dolan did the first 2 issues, and then he unfortunately passed away. And then Stan Yak did issue 3, and then he wasn't able to stay on the project. So it was just this constant, we ended up with 4 or 5 different artists and different colorists, and trying to maintain like a book that honors the original artist and looks good while changing artists and colorists and maintaining the story and making it seem like one cohesive project is probably the most frustrating / rewarding thing that we were able to do. And we had different letters too, so we ended up having Taylor Esposito just re-letter the entire thing for us for this volume, so that it would just be more consistent. And then also, of course, coming up with a cover, because like we have so much cool art, and it's hard to just, for a trade, pick one piece of art. And when Megan Hedrick painted this for us, we were like, okay, never mind, this is perfect. Like, this is we couldn't have come up with something better than this.
Yeah, and the stories behind what it takes to bring out some of these indie books, and the time and the challenges. It's funny because so many people will like get the book and then read it, and we want them to be thinking about the book and the story and get lost in there. But whenever I go through, Comics Tribe books, like I know where the bodies were buried behind these pages, or the issues and the struggles behind the scenes to get these things, and certain pages will trigger certain things. But I'm excited to see that this is on its way. 8 days to go, and now it's time for that Kickstarter gravity to kick in and get you over the goal, and hopefully unlock a few stretch goals, make it even better. Awesome. Let's take a look at what Zach is up to with Pulsar, The Lost Ethereal. What can you tell us about this series, Zach?
Well, hello, everyone. Sorry that I keep dropping out. Seems to be something across the Atlantic that's ruining the Wi-Fi, but that's all right. Pulsar is sort of a project that's been going on for quite a few years now between me and Jaden. We met on Comic Book Collabs, like you said, and it was on something else completely that he was working on that we met. And then I had an idea for this and pitched it to him. We came up with it. We've worked on it ever since. It's taken a long time to come together, but finally it's here. So it's a sci-fi epic that has sort of a superhero element to it. We really wanted to explore a big, long narrative of the story. Originally, it sort of came out of some philosophical ideas. I did a philosophy degree over here in the UK, and that's what a lot of the original concept for the story came out of. Some of the things that I was reading at the time, things about experience and understanding who you are, and what actually makes you a person, and sort of a lot of different things that I've been reading in my philosophy degree, which is very fun to be able to incorporate into the comic books. I love comic books, so that was great to combine those two.
Yeah,
and yeah, Pulsar is that fun exploration of some of those ideas, and this is just issue 1. It's just obviously it's the beginning to all stories, and we've got so much more we want to tell. I think the art's so brilliant. I'm very, very, very lucky that I've had so many wonderful creators I've been able to find and bring together, especially on the color and the illustrations. Just sort of, it's quite a thing. I think everyone here will know, to be able to look at something that you've only maybe had in your mind and then see it real. It's sort of this weird but exhilarating feeling. So that's been so rewarding to be able to do so far. Yeah, that's Pulsar.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the Citadel Comics side of things, it looks like this is the first project for this campaign. Is this your first Kickstarter project that you've been a part of, or have you done so on other things?
We've done one before. So the one that me and Jaden met on, that was his small anthology series that he did, horror one, and he wanted me to write a story for it, and met me on Comic Book Labs through that. And so that was what that's the first sort of experience of Kickstarter we actually had. We were very lucky that one went through, and so we sort of knew we wanted to stay on Kickstarter. But for Citadel Comics, which is sort of, we wanted to put a little bit of a sort of a spin on it, a professional spin, make a little team, and then we hope we'll be able to bring more people in down the line. So Citadel Comics is the account and the sort of the brand that we want to try and publish these things from.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, we'll talk more about that in a sec. But we got to wrap things up with the book by Mr. Fish. We got Alice Lost in Wonderland. What can you tell us about this series?
This is a story I have been working on for 30 years. It is following a fully grown Alice who's lost in this interdimensional rift of Wonderland. So all the different characters and stuff from all the different public domain stories that you've heard over the years are all lost in this rift. They're aliens and robots and ghosts and stuff from other dimensions. And she's got the Tin Man by her side as her guardian. She's got like the broken hilt of the Vorpal sword on her side that she can cut holes in reality and go wherever she wants in time and space. The only place she can't find her way back to is her original home. And like when she was a child, this guy called the White Rabbit grabbed her up and tried to save her life from an army that was chasing him. And by the time he saved her, he couldn't figure out how to get her back home. So he took her to Wonderland and tried to raise him himself. Didn't do a terribly good job of it. And now she is a bounty hunter, and she's contracted by this interdimensional deal broker to have to hunt down her adopted dad, the White Rabbit, and deliver his head to the Queen of Hearts, who has sworn to kill her and the Tin Man on sight if she ever sees him again. So, how do you fulfill the contract and hunt down your adopted dad that you haven't been able to catch up with in years to deliver him and not get killed in the process? That's where all the fun time traveling stuff gets to kick in. It is really cool. I've spent decades working on this and creating all this cool time travel, timey-wimey tapestry, but at its core, it's really about the different people we are at different stages in our life, and like how you can be one person to one group of people and a totally different person to a different group, the different people we are at different stages in our life, from childhood to adulthood to, being an old man, how you can try not to make all the mistakes your parents made and make all new mistakes and still have your kids grow up to hate you. And, all that generational trauma stuff wrapped up into this story. Like everything from my life over the decades has taken this from what started out as like just a power fantasy of what if you had a sword that could take you anywhere, anytime, and you didn't have any rules, to now it's, as I became a dad and adopted kids, he became an adopted dad. And, and as my friends made terrible mistakes raising their kids, some of those stories got wrapped in. And it's just made it a much more deep, interesting story now. And we get to hop back and forth and catch glimpses of like Alice going on adventures with Rabbit when she's young and she loved him and looked up to him, and and where she is now when she's hunting him down. It's really cool. It's really fun. It's emotional. It's exciting. It's violent. It's all kinds of great things. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, it's a fun concept. As someone that works prolifically as as an illustrator, and sort of out there, I think a gun for hire in terms of slinging art and drawing other people's stories. I know creating the time for our own passion projects can be tough.
Yeah,
was that the case for this, or was it always a plan of, hey, I'm gonna carve out this for me time, and then we'll go from
This
there.
story is the whole reason I got into comics in the first place. Like, this is what I've been wanting to do my entire adult life, is tell this story. And I had a long road here, worked in all kinds of different graphics, and got crippled for years and spent 15 years in a wheelchair, and I couldn't walk, talk, or see most of the time. And then once I got out, I had to rebuild a freelance career from nothing. And honestly, if anybody would have hired me, I probably wouldn't be doing comics now. But nobody would hire the guy that can't necessarily walk tomorrow or speak on Thursday. So I had to build a freelance career that could work around my disability, and I can work from my recliner, and I do all my communication over Messenger, so I don't have to be able to talk every day. And it's worked out really well. And once I published my first book, I got so busy doing everybody else's books that it was several years before I got to go back and do a story of my own. The only thing I would change, if I could change any of it, is I wish I had been brave enough to start on this story 6 years ago. But for some reason, I was afraid to risk it on this story that I loved so much. And so I did another book that I loved. And then I did another book that I loved. And now I'm like 16 issues into 5 different series. And I wish I was 16 issues into this, but, or 100 something issues into Alice instead of everybody else's books. But like you were saying, I have to carve out time now for myself, because if I don't, it's not going to happen. So now I set aside like half the money I get paid for doing a project for Laurie, I'm going to turn around and use to pay myself to work on stuff for myself. And when I get done with a book for this client, half of that gets set aside so I can pay myself next month to work on one of my books.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, an inspiring story in terms of coming back from something that probably most people would never be able to come back from. And so, you know, we're glad that you're here doing dream projects. And also, like, you know, there is something to be said for loving every project you do, or finding something that you love about all of the projects that you do. It really does come across in the work. And so, you know, that's definitely true. I want to also just put out, if there's questions for anybody on the panel and you're tuning in, please go ahead and leave them in the comments. We're happy to make this interactive. But one thing that I want to bring up now, just to make sure that we get to it, is that's valid to a lot of comic book creator crowdfunders, is the whole fulfillment issue. And I want to give Laurie a chance to talk a little bit about what Laguna Studios can offer on the fulfillment side. This is, I think, even more more valuable, and there's more interest in this now, especially in this tariff world that we are, where international folks are worried about what it's going to be like to ship in the United States, and looking at alternatives there, as well as other creators just trying to take off some of the mental load from doing big crowdfunding campaigns. I saw, Laurie, I'll see if I can pull it up, a picture of the Laguna Studios van that you guys have for delivering massive amounts of packages all at once. But talk to me a little bit about and give us an update on Laguna Studios fulfillment services and who you work with and how you can help creators.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm so excited about that van. We're D-Fish is actually working on the art for that van right now. And I'm so excited. We're going to cover it in art, and we're going to drive around, and it's going to be wild. But for fulfillment, the important thing. So we started off as comic book publishers, and then we were shipping our own campaigns. Like, we've done, I want to say we're at 40 or so campaigns, just under 40. And like, we became experts in fulfillment and shipping because comic book fans are very selective, and a lot of them want, you know, a book without a dent in it. So we had to figure out how to ship stuff so it got to people perfectly, despite the post office making their best efforts to fuck with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were backing dozens of campaigns at the time, and we saw that, you know, some creators were struggling, you know, with figuring out how to pack stuff, and we started helping them, and it's kind of grown from there. We've been working with comic creators, we've been working with authors, we've been working on games. And apparently, just in the world out there, there are not fulfillment companies that give a shit. So just being careful and packing things and like caring about how the package get. Most fulfillment companies, from what I've heard, do not take financial responsibility if they ship a person the wrong item. So if they mess up, you still have to pay them a second time, even though they messed up. That's, to me, that's insane. So just logical stuff like that. And as Tyler mentioned, with the tariffs, I've been on a roller coaster ride. Every day I get emails. I'm like, what's happening? Can we still ship stuff? All of that, we're taking care of it. We work with printers to help creators if they need that. And the printer and person that we're working with is the Influence, and they print overseas, and currently there are no tariffs through them. So they're dealing with that for everybody, making everyone's lives easier. And then, of course, international creators, it doesn't matter how small your campaign is, like, we can ship it out for you. We'll save you a ton of money not having to ship from Canada, from the UK to probably half of your backers are in the US, and we can just do the US orders for you. Just little stuff like that. Like, it's not a project of any size we can help with, because we know what that's like, and we know how stressful it is, and we know how much shipping can cost. And I'm just rambling now, but
no, it's very true. When's the best time for creators to contact you if about potentially working with you? Like, is it best before they've even push their Kickstarter live, or can they come to you after the Kickstarter is already funded? Like, what are there any best practices or things that help?
Yeah, I mean, any time is fine. I do recommend pre-campaign, just because a lot of the times we know what we're doing, so we can actually save you money on shipping. Despite you paying us for fulfillment, you can probably charge your backers less, your international backers especially, or if you are an international creator, your US backers, by using us. So we can bring that shipping rate down, and you'll have more backers internationally or in the US, depending on where you are, based on our shipping rates as opposed to what you may have found at the post office. So I would recommend contacting me first, because we'll save you and your backers money, but any time is fine.
Yeah. Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that that's up and running still, and continuing to keep you busy. Hopefully you put a lot of miles on that new van.
Yes.
So, you know, it's always interesting having conversations and opening up a panel with a range of experience. Like, Zach, you have some, you know, with your first launch under your belt here, but you've got a wealth of creators just on this panel that have had a lot of Kickstarter and crowdfunding experience under their belt as well. So I'm curious if there's anything that any particular areas with this launch that you've found is like, oh, this is a little challenging, or if there's any questions that you might have about just, you know, how you can tap into the experience of this panel. We'd love to help and support you.
Oh yeah. Well, first, in terms of actual challenges that have come up throughout the Kickstarter, I mean, shipping was definitely one of them. I was sort of looking like, I've never shipped like anything. I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe parcels in and out the UK to people that I know, but other than that, never worldwide, never anything like that before. And on the last Kickstarter, that was done by Jaden, and it was very lucky. It was only a very select few people. I think it was 1 or 2 countries other than the US that it actually had to go to. So that was really sort of challenging on what to do. So you hear about what you're doing there. That sounds very interesting. I might have to have a little peruse. But the sort of main question I have for all of you is, what do you do if it doesn't get funded? What you know, not every campaign will succeed. What's sort of the next step? What can you do to sort of salvage something like that? You've got a book. Where does it go? You know?
Yeah. Maybe start with
Retool and relaunch. Man, that the first time one of my clients' books didn't get funded, I was like, oh crap, it's over. My career's over. Nobody's going to hire me again because this book didn't get funded. He retooled it and relaunched it like the next day, and it got funded in like 2 days. And I never would have thought of that. And I've seen so many successful creators like get really close and it doesn't get funded. Just they retool it and relaunch it again, get the word out again, update everybody from the previous campaign so they can come back it and hit goal again. Just don't give up. Maybe you got to drop your goal a little bit if that's, I've seen some people drop it $500 and end up getting funded, but don't be afraid to redo it again. And don't be afraid to try it on other sites, because some books do really well on Indiegogo or Zoop or something. And, find out where your audience is. BackerKit did really great for me on the first Alice. I'm hoping this one does as good on Kickstarter.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes it's just even timing. Like we launched a campaign shortly after the most recent election and it didn't do as well because people were panicking, which is very reasonable. So sometimes it's really just that. And like, yeah, just like Fish said, retool, like you can always show it to people and ask for advice if you feel like anything, but it's usually, just relaunch and you'll hit it next time.
Yeah, I think the approach and the idea that has always helped me is just to understand and take the attitude that like, all right, every launch is either two things are going to happen. You're going to hit your goal, or hit or exceed your goal and get funded and move forward with it, or you're going to learn something and you're going to learn something from the process and you're going to get information from the process. And if you take that advice, there's no such thing as failure. It just might be, hey, there's another couple of steps that we're going to do to get to this end result. And so, yeah, that's what I definitely don't want you to say is, oh, well, clearly there's no market for this, or, we should go do something completely different or whatnot. But then, from the information that you're getting when you launch, you're putting something out there, and then if you don't get the result that you hoped, or if you launch and it's like, okay, we know we can raise this X amount of money, we need this X amount of money. It may be a case of you just saying, hey, okay, we're still early at this game, we're still new, and so we're willing to put more skin in the game up front, or we're willing to take make more of an investment into this product and just not rely on Kickstarter backers to support everything, or even the vast majority of it, but we just want to get a win under our belt and build from there. One just quick thing that I would point out, because in a quick scan of your Kickstarter page, it looks like you haven't put skin in the game, you have invested in this book, and you've got most of the first issue done, right?
It's fully done.
Yeah. So I think your sneak peek is a little underwhelming from Kickstarter standpoints. In general, especially when you're early on, like I know some creators sort of feel like, oh, well, it's a 21-page book. If I put up 7 pages, people are going to read it, and then they're not going to want to pay for the rest of it.
Guilty. Yeah.
And it's true that some of them might not, but what's more true is the more of a chunk or if you put up a juicy preview, they can maybe get invested in the story just right there. And it especially as someone that doesn't have a massive track record of fulfilling, by showing that there's more of this done, that you're confidently putting out there, it will breathe more confidence for backers. And so, some of my favorite Kickstarter creators, like they're putting 15-page previews up there, and they're like confidently showing off the work, understanding that the more they can show, the more likely people are to trust that it exists and it's going to be out quick. And then also that it gives people a chance to dive into it. I don't know if Fish or Laurie have any more tips or words of wisdom for Zak, just as he is learning and putting his stuff out there for his first launch.
I just agree that like as a new creator, especially if it's just this account that only has one project on it so far, letting people know that the project is done, showing them more of the book is only going to be helpful, because that's our biggest concern, especially when we're backing somebody's first project, is, am I ever going to see this again? Now, me personally, I back everything and forget about it. And if I get a book in the end, it's a wonderful surprise. If I don't, my feelings aren't hurt. I don't, because I've had way too many never get fulfilled. I can't live like that. So I just back it and forget it. But, you know, for other people, they're knowing that it's done, that everything's ready to go to print. Like, that's the kind of key things that I like to put in there.
Great. That's very, I think that's something I can probably change once this is done. I might add some more pages on it. Hopefully that might help.
Yeah, looking at it, I think that's the main thing, really, especially since you have so much done. It looks great.
Looks
as you saw, I just gave away my entire first issue for free. I was like, fuck it. Like, I want to get people in here. And I think, like, even if they read a big chunk of it, they'll be like, oh yeah, no, I want to have this in print, or I want the rest. I think that's the best, because it looks great.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of those backers that read it digitally are going to want to come back and buy a physical copy. Like, I back a whole lot of projects digitally just so I can back more campaigns. And like, I don't know if this book's any good, but I'm going to back it. If I like it, I always hit up the creator for a physical copy later. And, you know, always it works out.
Yeah, and I'll probably just one more sort of tip, and it'll probably be one of my tips of the days over the next couple of weeks. But just I talked a little bit about the title earlier for our tip of the day, but your project description here really doesn't like, the only bit of new information right here is this right here, sci-fi superhero, right? But the rest is all kind of redundant information from your title. And so you've got like 160 characters to play with here. So for my project descriptions, I actually want, give me a hook, get me, invested, as opposed to just sort of rehashing what you have in the project title for your project description. So I definitely think, just from a copy standpoint, you could probably stand to take another pass at that. So that people can, potentially get even hooked a little bit earlier. These are definitely, there's an art to this thing, and a lot of it is subjective, but there are some things where I'm just looking for more keywords and ways that I can potentially connect what I'm doing with what the Kickstarter market is looking for.
Yeah, I feel like too, like, as creators, we get so like ingrained in what we're doing, and like we're in it, that we don't, it's harder to look at from a buyer perspective.
Yeah.
And like, you feel like you're repeating yourself all the time. You're like, it's sci-fi, it's superhero, this is what it's about. But like, you're not, like, just the bare bones, the pitch every time, even though in your mind, you're like, I've told this a million times. Like, even issue 2, same thing. You're going back, like, brand new, selling it to everybody.
It's easy to fall in that trap of thinking that everybody knows it as well as I do, and that everybody has seen the posts that you put out every day about the campaign, and most people haven't. Like, a lot of people, I'll get to the end of the campaign and have a bunch of people be like, oh, I had no idea you were putting this book out. I'm like, dude, we're on issue 4. How do you not know I'm putting this book out?
I'm posting about this shit every day. Where are you?
Come on, man.
Yeah. The only person that sees every single thing we put out is us, usually, and it can be, but it can feel like that. And I think that's one of, like, as creators, we're sort of always on to the next and always on to the next. But from a business standpoint, it's about hitting that message and hammering that message over and over, because and conventions kind of helped me just understand that, where, there was a time when I was doing a lot of conventions, and it was like, all right, I'm 5 years in a row at the same convention, been pitching my book 5 years in a row at the same convention, and yet still 90 to 95% of the people that walk by have never heard the pitch.
Never.
But there also comes power in like having a pitch that you've refined and that you've put out, and that's just like, oh, you know, I know what to say, what word choice to do, when to pause, wait for the reaction, you know, and so there's definitely power that comes from that, and early on, you know, it can be hard to know exactly what's the pitch that's going to resonate with people.
And that's the thing I think far too many Kickstarter creators miss the boat on is I know a lot of guys that do their Kickstarter, they print the books, they ship them out. Okay, we're done with this book, and they go on to the next book. There are always going to be new people that have never heard of your book. Every con you go to, there's going to be new people that have never heard of your story. So there's always new people to sell issue 1, issue 2, issue 3. Even if you're on to issue 20 by now, there's always going to be new people to sell it to. You're never done selling it in this realm. It's not like we're Marvel and we put out issue 1 of Spider-Man and everybody went out and bought it and they've got it slabbed and stuff. Like, we're more niche than that. And it's a wonderful opportunity to me. That's why I print my books in much larger numbers than a lot of guys. So I have books for years that I can continue to sell because I know those first few issues are always going to do great at cons. And there's always going to be people that haven't heard of Alice Lost in Wonderland or Green Zone or The Mighty Caw or, you know, anything that I have to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm wondering, like, what else are you guys seeing as sort of either trends, whether it be on Kickstarter or if you are doing conventions? Like, is there anything that you're sort of like reading the tea leaves or trying to lean into with either the books that you're making or the launches or just overall business strategies? I know it feels like this industry is very much in flux right now. We've got everything going on with Diamond, and you know, but at the same time, you know, people are still going to be consuming comics and there's still things that are interested. I'm curious. I don't know, Laurie, you work with a lot of creators. You're pretty active. What are you seeing? What are you trying to take advantage of, or what are you playing with these days?
It kind of feels like chaos. Like, it felt like a couple of years ago I could like consistently predict what was happening and kind of make books that went with it. Kind of tailor campaigns or right now it feels a bit more chaotic. I know, you know, we know a lot of creators have turned towards slightly adult or adult content. I think some of that is just a result of the world is a frustrating place right now, so people want to escape, and erotic books are a good escape. But at the same time, like with The Surgeon, like that's something we've been working on for years, and I just like, okay, we're finally getting this out. And you know, I feel like 3 years ago we would have made 15K in a couple of days. Now it's a little slower, but fuck it, like I want to keep making it. And it's, maybe I'm being bad at capitalism here, but you know, I feel like the best approach is a combination of like, hey, here's the stuff that I want to make, and then thinking about, okay, what's popular in the market right now, what's doing well. You know, it's not selling out to do that. There are trends, you know, to, like I said, erotic stuff. There's also remakes are really big right now in movies. So taking public domain stuff and making it into comics is a very viable strategy and marketable. And I think that stuff's doing well right now too. And then just doing that at the same time as you're doing the stuff you really want to do. Not that you don't really want to, but kind of doing both things at the same time so that you can, you know, make a lot of money to make the things you want, to make more things.
That's exactly how I ended up where I am with Alice Lost in Wonderland, because like I had been working on this time travel story for years, and it had this time traveling barbarian character and his adopted daughter in it, and I loved it and it was wonderful. And then I was talking with a friend, and we were just like kicking out, like, how do you get ideas? And off the top of my head, I was like, well, what if Alice is a wandering Ronin in an interdimensional rift of Wonderland, and all the creatures are aliens and stuff instead of, just drug trippy things from a story. And, and that idea stuck in the back of my head. And the whole time I'm working on other people's books, it's just sitting there marinating and I can't get rid of it. And when it was time to work on my next project of my own, I was debating between my time traveler story and this Alice in Wonderland story. And I realized, as much as I loved the character of his daughter the way she was, if I cut her out and put Alice in her place, and then I turn the story and tell it from her perspective, I can jump to all the juicy emotional trauma baggage stuff. And I can put a sexy girl on the cover, which isn't supposed to hurt when it comes to sales. And I can tap into the public domain Alice in Wonderland stuff. And then I realized I had other characters in the story that would fit into other archetypes really well. Like I had this warlord that would fit really well as the Queen of Hearts. And, the barbarian has white hair and he's always disappearing through these holes that he cuts. So Rabbit fits as a name for him. And this other bounty hunter that's built out of scrap and garbage and can put himself back together when he gets blown up fits the Scarecrow really well. And this, ancient automaton character that I wanted to use in the story anyway fits the Tin Man. And all of a sudden, everything just kind of fit into these already established archetypes. And I get to use my characters in this new play using themes and ideas that people already know and understand. And it's been a lot of fun, and it brought a lot of extra color and layers to a story that I was already digging. Like the fact that I'm joining in on the public domain thing that is working well now with Cthulhu and all these other ideas doesn't mean I don't still get to tell a story that I love. It just means that, I got to alter things a little bit into a way that I hope makes a lot more people interested in checking out the story. And I have so many ladies when they walk by and hear that Alice is a badass bounty hunter in this interdimensional rift, they're like, oh, that's interesting. I want to check that out. And that's awesome. I love that. So yeah, it's not bad. Just work it together and make it something you enjoy.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like as indies, we are often fighting the uphill battle of how do we get people to be interested in the stories that we want to tell. When we're competing against intellectual properties that have massive marketing budgets and 50+ year histories in comics of publishing, and a lot of times Marvel and DC, they benefit. All right, we have these beloved IPs that some of the best storytellers in the world have grown up loving, and so they come with the stories that they want to tell and tell those great stories through the prism of our intellectual property. But playing with public domain stuff gives us as independents the opportunity to sort of play the same game or a similar game that the big publishers do, and can do it to great success. But I think, as you're right, like there's to the extent that you can bring your own passion, what's unique about you, what uniquely interests you, to these intellectual properties or these public domain things, is what's going to make it, fun for you. And then also what's really going to connect, because it's sort of like, you can like there's no protecting or like when you're just doing public domain stuff, like that can be successful, that can be cool, but if there's nothing unique that you're doing it's like, how do you make that stand head and shoulders or stand out from everyone else's version of the same public domain? So it's definitely a tight walk to, or a tightrope to walk, I guess. Yeah. But that, public domain stuff is not something that Comics Tribe has treaded on much over the years, but it's definitely something that I've had some interesting pitches come my way recently where it's like, oh, it could be interesting to tackle this thing that,
I hated it. I used to think it was such a cop out. Why would you use public domain characters when you can just make up your own stuff? Because I don't have trouble making up my own characters. Why would you share with anybody else when I could lock down the IP for my own original character. But some of the clients that I work with regularly and done like 9 or 10 books with now do characters that include public domain, and I've learned to love them. I've learned to see what they enjoy about that, and the kind of shorthand of already having a character that people understand a little bit about, or might even have a slight emotional attachment to, even if it's not that deep, but they recognize it and they know what kind of bells this character rings in the story, so that they can get to the meat of the story so much quicker. And it's fun, and I've enjoyed getting to do it, and I've grown to learn to love it, which, I don't often change my opinions about things, but I did grow and change my opinion on that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious, Fish. I mean, you work with a lot of folks, and are active in the scene. Is there anything, like any other thing that you're paying attention to, trends or something new that maybe you're trying with this campaign that maybe you haven't done in the past that you want to highlight?
I've seen a lot of people have a lot of fun and a lot of good response when they can combine things with like the D&D role-playing community. And I've been running this homebrew role-playing game for 30 years. Like, my kids grew up playing it. They learned to read on character sheets, so it's a lot of fun for me. And so this time we created these 3D figures so that you can print your own miniatures to go with it there in the campaign. And we've got them physical and digital, which is another thing that I picked up from a friend who is trying to enrich his digital campaigns, like his digital offerings, and make them as interesting as possible, to have like a deluxe tier for that beyond just the PDF book. So we've got a digital tier that has like an audio read along with the book, because I know I personally have a lot of dyslexic fans that have messaged me and told me, like, man, I've looked at your book so many times. I haven't read it yet, but I've looked at it like 6 times. And I'm like, if I can make it easier with a read along, audio file, why not do that? And it comes with the STL files for the 3D prints if you want to print them at your local library or whatever. And it comes with desktop backdrops for the computer. Just everything I could think of to try and make it a more interesting digital tier, because like, I really enjoy being a digital backer. I love being able to take 600 books with me on vacation on a drive, and not have to lug along a short box to see what I want to read on vacation.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, there's so many different little ecosystems on Kickstarter that all have their own little the ways they do things, and it's I feel like there's a lot of opportunity to borrow something from games or the RPG space or the zine space, and add it to campaigns to really make interesting experiences for backers. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Other projects or anything that you guys want to promote, Laurie? I mean, I'm sure you have a bunch of stuff in the hopper, but what else is 2025 looking like for you?
Oh, wow. We have, I'm hoping for another 5 books coming out this year minimum. We say that, and you guys understand that what you plan isn't always what happens in terms of comics.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a list of the projects on the board, and we'll see how many of those actually get going.
Right. Like, it's like, yes, I have a publication schedule, but it's this very loose thing that shifts around as teams decide to do or not do what I need them to do. So at least 5 books. We are going to be doing a couple of new romance novel to comic book adaptation one-shots with some romance authors coming out later this year, which should be really cool. We have more Unthinkables coming out. Heart Eater issue 3. Heart Eater 2 is almost done. It's behind schedule, and then Heart Eater issue 3 hopefully in September. And then also a Surgeon My brain just like a side story. Why is my brain not thinking of the word that I need?
Spin-off.
A spin-off. Thank you. I don't know why that wasn't in there. A surgeon spin-off that'll be coming out later this year as well. So that's the goal. Hopefully all of those things come out.
Now for the prose romance combinations, were those something where you were approached by the prose authors, or did you find a prose story that you liked and approach them, or how did that go? Because like in the past, I've had the occasional like novel writer ask about doing graphic novel adaptations, but yeah, how did those come about for you?
So the very first one we did last year, it actually came about through Russell Nolte, who is kind of a bridge between the novel writing and the comic book community, and he knew someone who wanted an adaptation done, and he wanted to work with us to do it. So that's what we ended up doing. But since we've done that one, a lot of specifically romance authors are expressing interest because they have so much IP and they're killing it in the book market, and they have money and IP, and they're like, well, how would a comic book do? Let's release a comic book with a special edition of my novel. And of course, we're women owned, and what I'm trying to do is generally have women writers, women editors working on this, so the comic is coming out with a woman's touch to it. So there's still romance, there's sex, but there's still that romance feel. Not that men can't write that, but women just kind of understand it better, like that frustrating feeling of why aren't these two people, getting together? What is happening? What is the plot? What is keeping them apart? And then they finally, that kind of thing.
Going. Yeah.
What was that?
Keeping the tension going. Yeah.
Right. That tension. It's not just like we dive right into the comic and everybody's having sex. There's a complex.
There's the man's touch right there.
Right. So, but of course, we're also like most of our audience is men. We're slowly gaining a female audience, but we're kind of trying to bridge the gap of and make comic books that men are still going to enjoy, but that women are also going to enjoy, but that are romantic, but that are sexy. So it's
yeah, trying to thread the needle there. Got a question come in from Ryan Clater, Professor Ryan Clater. What's up, Ryan? Said, you mentioned that there are great things to learn from other spaces on Kickstarter. What are some of the great campaign strategies or unique reward tiers that you've discovered from observing non-comic spaces? And good chat here all. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind to me actually was like I believe it was from the board game space that stretch goals first and foremost even originated, and they've become so ubiquitous with comic book projects over the years and a lot of projects. But I think that's one that came from there. Have you guys seen anything else that you've picked up from maybe another category or something that you want to potentially try?
Well, for me, because I've been working a lot more with fulfillment in the novel space, just fancy special editions of things with foil and things that you can touch, and I'm really on this soft touch with a spot UV that we did that on our last hardcover, and it just it's this experience of touching the book and looking at it, and there's crazy shit that you can do for special editions of novels. You can have leather bound, you can have velvet, you can have foil, you can have it's crazy, and I want to kind of mess with that, especially for special editions of graphic novels, because I don't think that's something we see. So on Kickstarter, I think that that's going to be a cool thing that comics fans will not have seen before.
The thing I'm really paying attention to lately, from every aspect, is the experience of getting the box, opening the box, that from getting a new phone to opening a new game to whatever, is that whole experience of it being branded and it being a fun experience, and not just this is a really heavily taped down Gemini mailer, but how can I make this something you'll remember. Because like if I walk up to the front porch and I see that spider squirrel tape on the outside of a Gemini mailer, I know that's from Charlie McElvey, and I know that's another issue Spider Squirrel, and I get super excited. So I'm trying to think like, how can I make this? How can I give other people that kind of experience? When you see this on the front porch, you know, oh, that's from Mr. Fish. This is going to be a good time. And I've realized on the last campaign, like when I was trying to pack 15 books, that's too big for a Gemini mailer now. I can't get that to fit anymore. So I've got to look into getting some bigger boxes made that can make everything fit right and still get everything there in top-notch condition. So that's what I'm looking at now, and I'm paying attention to everywhere and trying to pick up stuff from every place that I can.
Yeah, some good tips there, and yeah, remembering that fulfillment shouldn't be an afterthought. It is the last touch, potentially before the next experience with you, that you hope and you want to encourage backers to come along for the next ride as well, and providing that great end of or last bit of feature when they get the book is definitely can be done really well, and just finding little ways to make your stuff stand out go a long way. I like that.
And there's little things that even trying to do right, you can make mistakes. Like I've had books taped down so tight that trying to get them open completely rips open the cheap plastic bags that they were packaged in. And, you know, so like if a few more cents on a nicer bag or a better manner of putting it in place rather than just packing tape across the bag would have made it for a better experience, and I'd still have a bag to put that book in afterwards.
Absolutely.
Right. Like I feel like it's like if you want people to care about your book, you should take care of it when you're sending it to them. Like like they should get it, and it should be clear that you care about it, and then that makes them care about it. Right.
You've shown it's worthwhile because you care about how it got there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and especially because we're playing in the premium space. You know, we are the craft beer that you know should spring for the art on the label, and should and we're charging more than what has been traditional for comics, and hopefully leaning in and providing that higher tier option. I mean, I can remember when I was on a tight allowance budget back in my like 12, 13. I'm like, oh, well, I'll subscribe to my favorite Spider-Man books. And they were cheaper, you know, a cheaper subscription. And I actually had them mailed to my house, but they were like mailed in literally a plastic bag that the guy shoved through the mail, like fold in half, shoved through the mailbox. And I'm like, man, these things are getting destroyed. So providing that little extra experience, I think, in exchange for the premium that we tend to charge with Kickstarters is definitely a good idea.
But we're not selling dollar cheeseburgers from McDonald's. Like if that burger's a little outside of the wrapper when you pull out of the bag, it's not the end of the world. You didn't pay that much for it. If you give me, you know, this expensive filet mignon steak and it's half off the plate when you put it, I'm going to be upset. And, you know, we're paying steak prices for these books. We want them to come in nice condition.
Absolutely. And so, as being one of the fastest pen in indie comics, Mr. Fish, I assume you have quite a few other things cooking in 2025. Anything else you in particular you want to call out?
Yeah, I have like 6 or 8 different books scheduled with other publishers that they're going to be putting out, and I'm going to get out. I'm getting out issue 1 and 2 of Alice here soon after that campaign's over. Issue 3 is going to be coming out after that. And then the Green Zone trade for Green Zone Life in the Blocks that has all the collected 4 issues, the source books, and all the other stories I've done anywhere else or short stories that have been done that are all combined together are going to be in that. And I'm thinking about reaching out to a couple of teams if I can find teams that are quick and can hit deadlines to do a couple other short stories, because I'd like to flesh out a little bit more of the world of Green Zone beside just the story of these 4 cops that we're following in the main story, and show you a little bit more about what the place is like. But that's definitely what I'm getting out this year of my own, on top of everything for everybody else.
Awesome, man. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a productive year for the both of you, and hopefully we'll survive it. But I do feel like if anything, over the past couple of years, we've definitely built some calluses, and
oh man,
hopefully, if we got through the past, we can get through the present.
It'll be fine, right?
Yeah, we'll survive.
I'll be good.
I've made it through worse, trust me.
Yeah, well, I think that is absolutely true, and going stronger than ever. So I'd love to see that. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Just a quick reminder and rundown. The projects are Alice Lost in Wonderland by Mr. Fish. We have The Surgeon from Laguna Studios and Laurie, and it looks like we lost Zak, but we have Pulsar, The Lost Ethereal issue 1 is on Kickstarter. First launch for that team, and as we said, they've got 13 days and a little bit of ways to climb, but even if they do not hit that goal, they're going to learn some lessons. And as it was said by this panel, reboot, relaunch, and don't be surprised if you get a different result. So we're encouraging everyone to do just that. Thanks so much for joining me today, Mr. Fish and Laurie, and we appreciate everybody else tuning in and leaving a comment and joining us. I will be back again tomorrow. Who do I have coming up? Yeah, big panel tomorrow. I will be jumping on with Patrick Lugo, Jana Marishima, Amin Amat, and Grant Lankard. So it should be a good stream tomorrow. And I thank everyone else for tuning in. We can't wait to see what y'all launch next. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
The Comics Launch Planner is going to give you a roadmap so you can launch confidently, whether this is your first campaign or you've launched a bunch. Hey, I'm George O'Connor. I've kickstarted 10 projects raising over $50,000, and ComixLaunch is a big reason for my success. Tyler has studied Kickstarter for over a decade, and he's going to help you avoid pitfalls and give you the best insights to make sure that you and your project shine on the platform. He's also going to help you with the mental aspects so you can stay sharp and positive and professional throughout the entire launch. This planner is going to give you the tips and insights Tyler's created from over the years of studying the platform and helping hundreds of people launch their projects. As someone who's been with Tyler since the beginning of ComixLaunch and has absolutely benefited from his insights and trainings, I cannot recommend the ComixLaunch Planner enough.
I've been using the tools from ComixLaunch since 2020 to run all these successful Kickstarter campaigns. When it comes to running a Kickstarter, I never thought I could do it until I started using Tyler's tools and tips and tricks. He really has this great way of putting everything together and making it so easy to tackle. So something big and challenging like a Kickstarter campaign becomes really easy to do when it's broken down into these steps. My name is Melissa J. Massey, purveyor of fine fantasy comics and tragic shenanigans. I would recommend this to anyone who wants to launch a book or a comic on Kickstarter. It really breaks down the process and helps you to position yourself well so that you can stand out and deliver a fantastic book to your audience. I mean, the results don't lie, and the pile's getting a little hard to hold, so check out the Comics Launch Planner. It's going to be the best investment you make for yourself and for your creative business.
Before Comics Launch, I struggled to raise $3,000 on my first campaign. And since joining Comics Launch, I have raised more than $370,000 across more than 30 campaigns. That's a huge difference. It's quantifiable. Hey everybody, it's Clay Adams. I'm the writer of Blazing Blade of Frankenstein, Dream Quest, co-writer of Carmilla Unbound, Prodigal Son, and co-editor of the Nightmare Theater horror anthology. I wish I had this planner years ago. Tyler, what are you doing? Get on this. Start shipping these things out. Can we just skip the campaign? Let's go.